Just imagine waking up every morning and staring into a cotton field, knowing that you had to walk out into the field and either plant seeds, till the land, or harvest between 341 to 400 pounds of cotton per day. But this is what our forefathers and foremothers did during slavery and during the years of sharecropping. Today I am in Scotts, Arkansas, visiting the Scotts settlement, the Toltec Mound, and the Scotts Museum. So let me take you on this journey so you can see and get the experience what our forefathers and foremothers experienced during slavery and as sharecroppers and tenant farmers. So to understand what took place at Scotts Settlement, you have to take yourself back to 1850 all the way to the Civil War, 1861, 62, 63 to 1865, the end of the Civil War to Reconstruction and post-Reconstruction leading into Jim Crow. So here, this settlement consists of a big house, a church, several slave quarters, as well as sharecropping homes and tenant farming homes, as well as a train stop, a place to build boats. Well, enslaved people worked this actually, they actually helped to build or built this actual community. Pieces of this community was brought here, so all of this wasn't exactly where it is today, but it's to give you a broad picture of what a settlement looked like in Scotts, Arkansas, or just in the South. The main harvest was cotton, and as I mentioned earlier, the average slave had to pick at least 341 pounds per day in this type of sun that I'm standing in today. It's extremely hot. I can't imagine the experience that they went through. Settlements like this one until the Civil War, and when the Civil War took place, the Union Army or the Federal Army actually took over most of these plantations and converted them into what they needed for their strategy, as well as going into Reconstruction to take these same settlements and create African American or Black communities on these particular settlements. But because of Reconstruction, because of Abraham Lincoln's assassination in 1865, April 1865, and the promise of his general that Blacks would get 40 acres and a mule, upon his Abraham Lincoln's assassination, and his successor, Andrew Johnson, everything just went out the door. Everything was done, right? Andrew Johnson was a sympathizer to the Klans, which the Klan started in 1865, in December 1865. The mission to resist Reconstruction and to regain ownership of their land and to create a new labor system called sharecropping, and that's what they did. So now I'm at the Scotts Plantation Agriculture Museum, and I'm standing inside of a large cotton gin, or a set of cotton gin machinery, starting from the farthest end where the lint was pulled, the cotton lint was pulled, which removed the seeds, and it pushed it through a suction, like a vacuum suction. Then it processed it through the second machine, pulling out the dirt and things like that that was caught up in it. It took this path here all the way down to here, where it blew the remaining lint of the cotton out through a blower into this, and it piled it in order to create the bundles. Because of this invention, the cotton gin, it became more taxing for the slave as well as a sharecropper or tenant farmer, because the demand for the product increased. These are actual boxcars. The reason they're here is to show you an example that once the cotton was de-seeded, and that consists of all the type of seeds, the cotton seeds, the corn seeds, the grain, the oats. Once everything was de-seeded, it was all piled into a boxcar and shipped across the country. And they needed rapid production, and they needed access to transportation to actually get the seeds and the grain and the corn from Scott, Arkansas to their actual destination. So let's start with the beginning. So I am at the Plum Bayou Mounds. As you can see behind me, there are 3 different mounds, and they consider burial mounds of the natives who actually lived here. And before Christopher Columbus, the settlement of white Europeans in America, before natives were killed by the millions through the Columbian Exchange, before Africans were taken from West Africa, the Ivory Coast, and brought to America during transatlantic slavery, before the Civil War, before sharecropping, before tenant farming, before Reconstruction, before the first president of the United States, before Jim Crow, before the Civil Rights Movement, before recolonization, there was peace, there was innocence on the land. And I'm not saying that there was no tribal conflicts that took place on this land, on the Americas. I can't say that. The history said that there was, but before Andrew Jackson signed the 1830 Indian Removal Act, where Native Americans were moved off their land and had to walk with what we call the Trail of Tears all the way to Oklahoma and settle there amongst mixed tribes. Before the white European settlers stole all the land, there was peace. This is Dr. Mario Wallace with the Black History Scavenger Hunting. Peace.